And I just was in total shock. It all happened so quickly, but there's so much research. It's not a death sentence anymore. It's not.
So with me is Karen Farrell, and Karen is from Carlow. And welcome to the Staying Abreast podcast, Karen. Karen is a mum of 3, and she is captain of the Knock Boy Army, who are the boys who raised €12,200 for the National Breast Cancer Research Institute last year. And as a result, Karen is now an expert in bleaching boys' hair. Isn't that right, Karen?
That's right, Aileen. Yes, I am.
So look, Karen was diagnosed at the beginning of 2023. So you might just tell us a little bit about your story. How did you discover you had cancer? What led you to get checked for possible cancer? And, if there was a family history. So just bring us through your story.
Yeah, so January 23, it was actually December 22, I went for a mammogram. I went into my family doctor and I found a little small lump, tiny little lump under my left armpit.
And did you find that because you were checking, or did you just happen to come across it?
I wasn't actually checking it, but I did notice it when I was washing myself, I suppose. And it wasn't alarming because it was moving and I wasn't too sure.
And would you have been good for checking yourself? I mean, did you know your own body well?
Yes, I did. I do. And I would have checked myself often as well. Previously, before that, I had a mammogram. It's a good couple of years ago. And they did find a calcification. And so they put a clip in at the time. People familiar with breast cancer and breast awareness would be familiar with. Sometimes you can get calcifications and they'll put a clip in. And then if you're going for future mammograms, it'll show up that you had a calcification. So it wouldn't be something of worry,
right?
For future mammograms. But this time, because it was on my left side and the calcification was in my right breast, I just said to the doctor, would you send me for a mammogram? We'd come out of COVID as well, so a lot of the routine ones had stopped. The way like when you're 50, like I was 54 at the time. So I'd missed, we'll say, the one when I was 52, because of COVID and whatever. So yeah, off I went. He sent me to the breast clinic up in Dublin, up in the Mater. And I had unfortunately, that day I went up, actually, there was a bit of a mix-up. So instead of us all going for the triple assessment, which would be the mammogram, the ultrasound, and see a doctor, that day I was just sent for a mammogram, and I did see a doctor. But they just told me not to worry. It was just it was probably a little cyst and it would go away itself. And my mammogram results came back clear.
So the ultrasound was the part that you didn't get.
I didn't get that day, yeah. So I just went back to the doctor. It was gnawing at me. I don't know why. And I just went back to the doctor.
To your own GP?
To my own GP. And I just said, look, I didn't get the full triple assessment. I said, can we just follow up on it again? And in fairness, there was a cancellation and I got called that week, Christmas week, in for the ultrasound. And of course, we were all concentrating on the left-hand side. And as soon as the doctor put it to my right breast within a couple of seconds, she said, Karen, there's just something here. And I just said, oh no, it's just calcification and it's the clip, you think you know everything. And she said, oh no, but sure, we'll check anyway. And then she called in another doctor. And then I thought, right, okay. And still didn't really think much of it. And then she asked me, could she do a biopsy? So they did the biopsy and they just told me that I get the results within 6 weeks. And to be honest with you, Aileen, I just went out there and just thought it's going to come back as calcification. I never dreamed that.
Well, I suppose you had 2 reasons for that, because one, it was the side where you weren't expecting it to be, because the clip was there. You'd already found the lump on the other side.
Absolutely.
2, you'd already been given an all clear on a mammogram,
and
you were being extra diligent about going back.
Yeah.
So, you presumed that you'd been a good girl now at this stage and you were going to get a clean bill of health.
Yeah, absolutely. I had Christmas was, I had a great time at Christmas. And January, myself and my partner John went away on holidays. And the following Tuesday, when we were due to come back from holidays, actually, was when we were come back the Monday night. And the Tuesday I had my appointment to get my results.
And can I ask? Can you stop you and ask?
Yeah.
Were you told to bring somebody with you?
Yeah, this is what on the Friday. Then we're sitting on the beach having breakfast, and I get a phone call, and the lady just said to me, "Karen, you know, the way you can't bring somebody with you to your appointments." And I interrupted her, as I do all the time, people. I said, no, God, I wouldn't dream of bringing anyone with me. And she said, no, actually, Karen, we'd like you to bring somebody. And that's the first time, Aileen, that I realised I
And
might
you were
be
sitting
in
on the
trouble.
beach.
Yeah, in Puerto Rico.
So how did you react?
I suppose your instant reaction is, I'm in trouble. Your mind goes to your 3 children. What am I going to do? But I'm going to be honest with you, there was a bit of naivety as well. And she just said like to bring somebody. So of course, me being Karen and being the more positive person all the time, like I didn't really think that they were going to tell me I had cancer on Tuesday.
And did you tell John straight away when you were sitting on the beach?
I did, yeah.
And
John,
how did he take it?
He just said, look, let's just take it one day at a time. John's very cool, calm. You know, he's very good. He's like the polar opposite of me. You know, I'm the one like that would be all like worrying and like happy-go-lucky, but you know, at the same time like a worrier. John's very calm. He's very cool. He just like would ground me, and he just said, "Look, Karen, we'll just wait and see on Tuesday."
Yeah. So when did you fly back then?
So we flew back on Monday night. And we went up on Tuesday.
And did John go with you?
John came with me. It's actually very funny because I said, when we were going in, I said, "No, John, you don't have to come in with me." And he said, no, you know, you got your phone call. No, John, you don't have to come in with me. And when I went in, and the first thing the doctor said is, "Did you bring someone with you?" And I said, "Yeah, he's just sitting out in the waiting room." And then he said to me, "Look, Karen, we've bad news." And then I looked at the nurse and I said, "Could you get John for me?"
So that's how. So they just throw out there. We have bad news.
We have bad news.
And you knew then you needed more support than
Absolutely,
what you.
Yeah.
So in John came then.
And he was just brilliant. I think a lot of what I was told at that meeting, I was told I was diagnosed with triple negative invasive ductal carcinoma.
I know that's a lot of words. Did you know what that was?
Hadn't a breeze.
Yeah.
Had never Googled breast cancer. Had never, you know, I you know, there is a history of breast cancer in my family with my mommy's sister, and you know, but I'd never it was years ago, and I'd never gone into it further. You know what I mean? So,
and have you sisters?
I have one sister, Ashley. Yeah, she's 3 years younger than me.
But so it was just your mum's sister was the only one that you really knew in the family.
In the family, yeah. And that was my Auntie Mary, Lord of Mercy.
And as you say, you hadn't go.
No, I hadn't.
Right, so he throws out this big long diagnosis for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And did he explain it to you then what that was and the treatment from there?
Yes, it was Dr. Mitchell Barry. He was excellent, and he just said, "Look, it's we've caught it early. It's small tumor. We can, you know, we're not talking like we're just talking about a lumpectomy." I hadn't a clue what a lumpectomy was. You know, I'm being very honest. I really didn't have a clue. And then John asked, was I going to have chemo? I nearly died. I hadn't.
So it hadn't occurred to you?
Not even still hadn't. And then John asked, was I going to need radium? And he said yes. And I'm like, wow, he's asking all these questions. What's wrong with me? I'm sitting here in a room, and I really wasn't digesting what I was being told. And then the nurse was saying, "Your hair is lovely, Karen." I said, "Thanks very much." And she said, "Look, you know, your treatment is going to be a very aggressive treatment, and you're going to lose your hair."
And did she say that straight out to you?
Yeah, she did. She was really honest and lovely. Yeah. And I loved that about the whole thing, because there's so much you learn afterwards as well about breast cancer, about treatment, about the after effects of treatment that they don't sit down and tell you. Now, I know they're not going to tell you in your first meeting and diagnosis, but even afterwards, I find that there's a lot of stuff that you're not really told until it happens to you, and then you're finding out these little things, afterwards.
So I suppose it's how much you can take in at a particular time, isn't it?
Yes, definitely. And I think Dr. Barry, I think the nurse, I think they realised I was taking in an awful lot. So I was quite happy for John to take, on
Ask the questions.
Ask the questions, yeah, and sort out all of the stuff. And like, all I realised then was that the following Tuesday I was going into the Mater just to have my lumpectomy. And
So, and before you got to that, when did you tell the children then? Had you told them before you went in for the appointment,
I
or
hadn't
was
told
it then?
anybody.
Right.
Nobody.
So, because you were away as well, you were only back.
Oh yeah, and because to be honest with Aileen, I really didn't think there was anything going to be wrong.
Yeah.
So I hadn't spoken to anybody about what if. So I think when I went home, I sat down. I have 3 kids. Ricky's 28, Ellie is 20, going to be 21 in November, and Mikey is 18. He was obviously 17 at the time. So he was in 5th year in school. So, you know, it's very hard to sit down and actually tell them. So Ashley, my sister, came out for dinner that evening, and she sat down and she said, your mammy has a bit of news.
Were they all there?
They were all there, yeah. The 3 of them that were there, yeah. And then I told them that unfortunately I had breast cancer.
And how did they take that?
There was a lot of tears, a lot of shock, a lot of questions. But I was very positive.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have much time to digest between being told a couple of hours and what I was going to do, but I just knew it was all happening so quickly because the following Tuesday I was going in to have the lumpectomy. So I knew I didn't have time, and I needed to be upfront and honest.
Yeah, you only had a week now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
And did you tell more people than just your children? Did you, your parents?
Yes. Well, my dad and my mum, obviously, I told them as well, and I told some of my close friends as well. And yeah, it was.
So the next step then was in for the lumpectomy. And how did that go for you?
That was brilliant. It was plain sailing, and took some lymph nodes as well, just for diagnostic reasons as well. And I was in and out the next day. I had it on Tuesday. I was home on Wednesday.
And was it manageable? Was it?
Yeah, it was grand. They give you exercises, and if you do your exercise and you do everything right, that you're asked to do, it's actually, it was quite manageable, in fairness. Yeah, it was very minimal pain and a couple of little stitches.
And what was the next treatment option being offered you then from there?
So then I had to meet with my oncologist, Kathy Kelly, up in the Mater, and I met with Kathy, and I was diagnosed with triple negative. So there's different treatments, obviously, for different breast cancers.
So were you offered treatment options, or were you just advised of a treatment plan?
I was advised of a treatment plan. Yeah, it was 20 doses of paclitaxel weekly, and then 4 doses of a chemo drug called AC, which is a combined drug. And the 20 weekly ones were going to start 6 weeks. We're due to start 6 weeks after
the surgery.
After my surgery, yes. And then the 4 other ones then straight away after I'd finished the 20 weekly ones. But unfortunately, when I came home after my lumpectomy on the Tuesday, the Wednesday, the following Friday was the bank holiday, and I had to bring my dad to hospital.
What was wrong with him that you were bringing him to hospital?
I just noticed that his eyes were very yellow when I was visiting him, and I didn't really like the look of them. And my maternal grandmother, actually, when we'd been at a family wedding in England years previous, I was in bed beside her when we woke up one morning, and her eyes were actually yellow. And unfortunately, my grandmother passed very, very quickly. After that, when we brought her home, she had terminal cancer. So
you'd seen the look of this before.
I did.
And I suppose that made you freak out a bit, did it?
It did. I'm not going to lie. It wasn't very nice. And my daddy's a very gentleman, and he would have been a worrier, I suppose, about himself, and he had COPD, and so I wasn't going to tell him, like, Daddy, I think you have liver cancer.
But so that was your first thought, is that
absolutely,
this looks like liver cancer?
Yeah.
Having obviously no medical basis or...
No, whatsoever.
And how long after your lumpectomy was this?
4 days.
4 days?
Yeah, Friday.
And did you bring him to the doctor or to the hospital?
I brought him to the doctor first, our family doctor, who was wonderful, and we had a little nod and a wink about what we thought it might be, and then we brought Daddy down to Kilkenny Hospital, and they kept him in. Daddy lost a lot of weight very quickly as well, and unfortunately it was the bank holiday weekend, so there was no beds available, so we were in A&E for a while, for a day and a half or whatever.
And did you stay with him for that day and a half?
I did. Now, Ashley could have stayed with him, but it was just me being the bossy me. I insisted that I was staying.
Yeah. And you had no concerns about yourself really at that stage, because you'd had the lumpectomy and you'd had the surgery.
Yeah. And then on the Tuesday, on the Monday, the bank holiday, I had this horrible pain and I was doing my exercises up the wall and my arm wouldn't go up the wall, and next thing I felt like pain here, and I was like, oh God, what have I done? Everything that I was told not to do. So I ended up back in Mr. Barry's clinic on Tuesday for an emergency appointment, and I was after he had to drain away a litre of fluid from my site where he'd done the surgery.
And was that because you'd overdone it?
Of course, I'd overdone it. Yes, yeah.
So I suppose your advice there to others would be to take the medical advice that you're given in terms of.
I'm the expert now, Amy. Anybody that tells me that
we're all experts, you know. As they say, hindsight is 20/20 vision and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
But going back to your dad, so was he diagnosed at that point?
No, on that Tuesday, no, it was the Wednesday, Thursday, they did a chest X-ray, and it came back that there was some spots on his lungs, and but I kept insisting it's his liver, and poor Daddy kept insisting that he felt like there was something he described it as something scooping his insides out in his tummy, and it was the following week he was still down there the following week, and they did and they brought him down for a CT scan on his abdomen, and that it was then discovered that 75% of his pancreas was covered with a tumour, and there was 5 spots on his liver, and 3 was gone to his lung as well.
So pancreatic, liver and lung.
Lung, yeah. I'm not too au fait with the dates, but all I can tell you is that my daddy passed away on the 25th of February, so it was 2 weeks later after.
So 2 weeks after diagnosis?
After diagnosis, yeah.
And only a few weeks after you had your own diagnosis and your own lumpectomy?
Yes.
So that, I mean, it's an understatement to say that must have been...
Yeah, it was mad. It was whirlwind. I mean, there was people coming up to me at Daddy's funeral, and they were talking to me and asking me how I am, and I'm like, fine, I'm fine. But that's, if anyone ever asked you about Karen Farrell's always fine.
Yeah.
So.
Well, you're Irish.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And it's a thing, isn't it? Like that we do, especially when we're mammies as well. I think as well, we hide everything, and I just was in total shock. It all happened so quickly.
How was your mother?
My mammy was in bits because she was worrying about me.
Yeah.
Ashley, my sister, was worried about me as well. And, I was, of course, being the eldest sister of the two of us, I was trying to take on too much. Everyone was trying to tell me to calm down and stop and slow down. But I suppose... You just go into, I don't know what sort of a mode, you do go into survival mode,
yeah.
But I think there's a survival mode, and then you're also got this on top of it. And further down the line then, as we'll get talking about, there's survivor's guilt as well. We'll talk about that as well, because that was dreadful, what I had to, later on. But after Daddy's funeral, I went back up to meet Kathy Kelly, the oncologist, and I explained to her that Daddy had passed away, and I just needed, was there any sort of a time frame that we could move the...
So you were looking for a bit of space between your father's death and your treatment starting?
Yes.
And was she able to offer you that space?
She did, yeah. She gave me another couple of weeks. She did. She gave me 2 more weeks, and which was good. It was just to get my head around and sort out affairs and do a few things and whatever.
Yeah.
And I started then I started my treatment on the 7th of March. And it was, again, as we discussed in the first meeting, the nurse was lovely and said, Karen, palataxel, on your AC, it's not a nice drug. You will lose your hair.
So how is that treatment provided?
Intravenously?
Intravenously,
yeah. Yeah. So
And we're in Dublin.
in Dublin, yeah. Well, I just chose because everything was in the matter. I just chose to stay in the
Yeah.
matter. Now I could
Yeah.
have chose to go to Kilkenny, if I wanted to.
Yeah.
But it was it's
Yeah.
it's as handy go to Dublin, and if your records are all there and your
Of course.
oncologist and your
Yeah.
breast surgeon is all there,
Yeah.
I just decided that was where I wanted
Yeah.
to go.
So were you coming up once a week then for that?
Coming up once a week. Started on the 7th. Had my second one on the 14th. Nurses were lovely. It was explained to me then I'd start losing my hair after the second one.
And how, before you started losing your hair, how did you react to the knowledge that you were going to lose your hair? What colour hair did you have?
I had bright red hair.
Bright red hair.
Bright red hair, yeah. Niamh Kavanagh won the Eurovision years ago. I think I could be wrong in saying 1994, but
it actually is, yeah, because she won it in Mill Street, where it's just where I'm from.
Oh, brilliant! See, so, and I was working in Superquinn on the customer service desk at the time, and I had mousy brown hair. My mum was a hairdresser at the time; she's retired now, and I said to Mummy, I want my hair coloured like Niamh Kavanagh. And she got it. In fairness, she used to say to me, Karen, I'm a hairdresser, not a magician, but she did. She got me red, lovely red hair.
And you kept it the red
the red for all those years.
So you'd red hair for 30 years effectively, so did
Nearly,
you?
yeah, absolutely. Long red hair, and and it would have been known as Karen Farrell, the red hair girl that works in Superquinn on the desk.
There should be a song written with that title.
Oh God, yeah. Niamh Kavanagh is a lot to answer for. But yeah, so even hearing it in the first day that I was going to lose my hair, I didn't digest it. Right, there's no point telling you, I didn't. But you wouldn't believe what happened to me, Aileen. The Tuesday was my second weekly, and you're pumped with steroids as well as your chemo, okay?
Yeah.
So nothing to do, Karen, only come home, get up the next morning, Wednesday. I think we might be even, I know it's true, the first or the second day of Cheltenham. But anyway.
How well you remember that bit?
Oh, I'll never forget it, yeah. And I want to do nothing, only undress all the beds and wash all the bedclothes.
So this is the woman now who had been, you'd already caused yourself a bit of difficulty earlier after the surgery.
Yeah.
And here you are now, you've decided you're going to change all the beds.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So up I get, and I take them, and I'm very good, and I'm throwing them down over the banister because we have stairs in the house, and I'm throwing them down over the banister. And next thing, I'm coming down the stairs. And
were you carrying anything?
Of course I was. I was carrying more sheets and more duvet covers. And I have a feeling, I'm not too sure, but I slipped, fell down the stairs, got to the bottom of the stairs, and my left foot was turned completely sideways.
My gosh.
Completely sideways.
You could see it.
I could see it, and it was not a very nice sight to see. And again,
was there anybody in the house with you?
Yes, the kids were in the house, and John was on the couch, and I just called him and I said, I think we might have to go to hospital. And he came out and he just looked at it and he goes, yeah, we've got to go. In hindsight, again, our local hospital is Kilkenny, but we knew that most people who have breaks in ankles, bones or whatever are always referred on to Waterford. So we said we'd go straight to Waterford. And I did. We went straight.
How bad was the pain?
Oh, it was horrendous. Horrendous. Yeah, really, really bad. And it swelled like within 2 seconds. It was huge. They got me out into the car all the way down the hour's journey. It was bad. But in fairness, I will say Waterford were brilliant. I explained I needed to be sort of kept a separate account of just, vulnerability.
Yeah, immunity.
Yes, immunity, exactly, for my second treatment. But unfortunately, I was kept down there for 9 days because they couldn't touch me because the swelling was so bad.
So was it broken in a couple of places?
I broke it in
was it the ankle or the
ankle?
So the ankle was broken in 3 places?
Yeah, shattered 2 bones. So after 9 days,
and they couldn't operate?
Couldn't operate until they got the swelling down just enough to be able to start to do something with it.
And what did they do then?
And then they did surgery on Friday the 24th of February, and they put in a plate and 3 pins. And it was my dad's month's mind the next day, and nothing would do me, only I wanted to be home for daddy's month's mind. And
The day after the surgery?
Yeah. Plus now I spent 9 days in Waterford Hospital and my hair had started to fall out as well.
So was that was the first time your hair started to fall out, was it?
Yes, it was, during those 9 days. Now, it wasn't nice.
Yeah.
You know, it's you can laugh and say like it's lovely to have lovely red hair, but when you see bright red hair against white pillows on the floor, you know, the white sheets, everything.
But also, it was part of your persona, and suddenly some of your persona
was gone.
Or you would have thought that.
Yes, yeah. Yes, exactly that. You would have thought that, and it wasn't in any way a vain sort of or vanity.
Yeah.
It was me. It was who I was.
Yeah. Did you feel like you were losing part of yourself?
Yes, definitely. And I did. The physio said to me, Karen, if you can go up and down the stairs on the crutches on the Saturday morning, we'll let you home.
In a boot.
In a boot, yes. And by God, you've never seen a girl to go up and down the stairs as quick on that Saturday morning just to get home.
For the month's mind.
But when I got home, Mammy was there, Ashley was there, loads, the kids, everyone were there. And then I just got Mammy on my own and I just said, Ma'am, will you shave my hair? There was a lot of hair gone. And
you could really see, or
yes.
Could everybody else see it, or was it just you could see it?
Well, you could definitely see it was a lot finer than when I had left, we'll say, previous. And as well as that, in between those 9 days, there was also COVID in the hospital, so I wasn't allowed to have visitors. And there was Mother's Day in between that as well.
Yeah.
So the kids, so there was a lot going on. And
your dad, I mean, so you had a huge amount on at that stage, hadn't you?
Yeah.
And so you asked her that day, would she shave the head?
And I thought, like, again, I just thought, I'm going to that once mine mass, But then when she shaved my head.
Did she shave it before the mass?
Yeah, she did, because I asked her to. I wanted done, because I had sort of sourced wigs previous to that. And I'd got myself a couple of nice caps and stuff to wear. So I was sort of prepared for when I was going to be bald anyway, or become bald.
And that preparation, was that because you were guided towards that, or did you do that by yourself?
Oh, no, that's the hairdresser and Mammy coming out, of course.
Good. Okay, right.
Yeah, well, sure, look, we had red wigs, we had blonde wigs, we had brown wigs.
So that must have been a bit of crack trying on the wigs, was it?
There was a bit of fun, there was, yeah. And so Karen obviously is my name, and then Johnny, one of the chaps I used to work with, he used to call me Kaza. So we said that the brown was going to be Kaza, and then the blonde was going to be Kaza, and Sharon was another one. So it was blonde. So when I was blonde, I was Sharon. So we had a bit of fun.
Yeah.
This was when
you
we
have
were
to have a bit of fun
them.
you have to take what you can out of it, can't you?
Absolutely. And I wanted Ellie, I wanted the kids to be involved in every step, so that there wasn't big major, it's not decisions or anything, but I wanted every step that was going to happen.
So they were involved?
They were involved, yeah.
Yeah.
Because Mikey, in the beginning, he wasn't too sure whether because I said I was going to rock the bald. And then I just seen Mikey hesitant. I thought, right, okay, Mikey's not going to be happy.
Yeah, because he's in school, I suppose, and it's an age where they're conscious of what other people look like, and
absolutely,
their parent especially.
Yeah. So my gut reaction on that was straight away picked up on Mikey's hesitance. So it was right, okay, we won't rock the bald, because that's not going to make Mikey happy.
So what colour wig did you wear to the month's mind?
So I didn't go to the month's mind.
Oh, after all that?
Yeah. I think realization set in once Mammy had shaved my hair.
Realization that you weren't ready to face it, is it?
Yes. I think realization that I had cancer, that I was sick, even though I was trying to pretend to everyone
it was going to be seen now by people as well.
Yeah. And Mum.
And was she okay about that, your mother?
Mammy was very upset, shaving it, and she cried, and I was trying to be brave because she was crying, and I was going, what are you crying for? We knew this day was going to happen. But sure, as soon as I went upstairs, I cried, but I cried, but
it's a very tough day for you all. I mean, so there's that full acknowledgement in your face now that you've got cancer.
Yes.
And it's your father's month's mind.
Yeah.
And you've got your leg in a boot.
Yes. And everything is happening.
Yeah.
Everything. And all of this, being a mom, you're just you're just consciously working in overdrive, and you're trying your best, like, to pretend everything is okay.
Yeah.
And I had to take some time out then, and I just had to just say, I'm not going to Daddy's Month's Mind. Now, we're very lucky. The parish that Daddy's Month's Mind is in, the parish that I'm from, Grey Cullen Collection, they have the webcam. So I watched it on the webcam.
Yeah.
So, I wasn't present.
Yeah.
But at least I didn't miss
But at least you made the right decision for yourself there, rather than trying to make a decision for everybody else to keep them all happy.
Yes, exactly. I knew all my family were going to be there, and I just knew I wasn't ready then to show the world that I was either going to be wearing a wig or whether I've chosen to wear the cap. I just wasn't. Yeah. It just all happened.
Yeah, miles too fast for you. I mean, it would have been, I mean, it sounds like it was definitely the right decision to make. And when then did you start going back for the next weekly treatment?
I got 2 more weeks off then, and because of being triple negative and everything else, the oncologists they were just anxious to get me back.
Yeah.
So I went sort of March. So April, the beginning of April then. Yeah, I got 2 weeks off after. Yeah, I'm not too sure of time frames now. I'm sorry, Aileen. But yeah, it was sort of nearly straight away. About 2 or 3 weeks I got off, and then we got back into it again.
And were you back then? You had another 18 weeks to go, and were you fully back in there then?
Oh yeah, fully back on, every week then. And
how, now your hair was already gone out, but how did your body react to the rest of the treatment, and how did you react mentally towards doing the treatment?
Yeah, so, well, let's just say that every week after, I was very good and did stay in the bed, right? So there was no more mad washing clothes and all of the madness. My biggest, the only reaction I really had was I had a very red face from the reaction from the steroids the day before. So but it calmed down. Say if I had my chemo on Tuesday, Wednesday was red face day, probably very lethargic, tired, and Thursday then I just wake up and the redness would be gone. And
so Wednesdays were known as red face day, were they?
Oh, absolutely. That was and we would be laughing with my friends, and some of them would be wanting to FaceTime me, and I go, no red face today, no FaceTiming. But yeah, it was so the week sort of went. It was so quick. You know what I mean? You're over maybe 2 or 3 days. Always by Saturday, I was well, very positive. Went to meet my group of friends. We went to a different place. We either went for breakfast or we went for lunch.
So you stayed social?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, and stayed social and wore the caps, actually I didn't wear, it's funny, I spent a lot of money on wigs and whatever, but in the end I found these wigs that were like, they're just hair pieces, so they're sort of just on
so you can wear the cap under them and have a bit of hair coming out,
Yes, so they were much lighter to wear.
Yeah.
So we're coming into sort of summer, sort of like it was May, still like it was hot. The wigs were very, very, well, I don't know if I just chose the wrong wigs, but definitely.
Well, I suppose it's not one size fits all. So, I mean, some people probably love wearing the wigs, are very comfortable wearing them, and others aren't.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And we had, as I said, we had the red ones, we had the brown ones, and we had the blonde ones. So I had a bit of fun, and when I used to rock up for chemo every weekend up to the mat, or the nurses, we'd have a laugh. Like if I'd have a yellow hat, I'd have a yellow costume. If I blue, I'd have a blue hat, and every day, like we were always messing, and the colours and what colour was Karen going to come in with today, and what colour wig. So
you stayed very positive, did you?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And I have a great family and friends. Everybody is so good.
Did you have bad days?
Yes, I had very bad days. Very bad days. I think the days probably the days after chemo, and that's where I suppose the guilt started to come in, that I got the chance to have the chemo and the radium.
And do you mean guilt with your father?
With my father, yeah.
So is that what you were calling kind of the survivor guilt?
Yeah.
So you felt that he didn't have the opportunity to get the treatment options that were going to save your life?
Yes, exactly, yeah. And it's very, when you lose a parent, especially when you're 55 years of age, you're very lucky to get to 55. Some people don't have that opportunity. You know what I mean? I mean, I know there's parents that bury children, but there's also children like adult children that, are very
don't have their parents.
Exactly. So Ashley and I we were very gifted to have like daddy for so long and touch wood, please God, mammy for longer. But
but you still felt that he hadn't, things were cut very short for him because he didn't get a chance at treatment.
Yes. Yeah. 2 weeks was just, it was just so quick. And,
and I suppose, and for yourself, because you'd been so sharp off the mark with yourself, which is fantastic, but only you know your body.
Yes, exactly. And I suppose like when you hear of lung cancer, we had no awareness of pancreatic cancer. So I suppose Ashley and I were zoning in on like maybe daddy will have some radium because it was lung cancer. Do you know what I mean? And it'll buy him a bit of time. So yeah, the nights, I suppose the night times as well.
Would you say, are you through that survivor guilt that you carried, or do you still have, remnants of that?
That's a good question. Some probably.
I mean, obviously you think about him, but
yes,
but that's different to feeling guilty.
Yeah, I suppose I've had to find peace because going through treatment and then onto my radium, and then everybody talks to you about ringing the bell. And after I had my 20 sessions of radium, my friend Mary encouraged me to ring the bell.
So you rang what date did you ring the bell?
I rang the bell on the 20th of October, but I rang the bell once. And Mary said, no, ring the bell. And I said, no. Actually, I tell you a lie, I rang the bell twice. I rang the bell once for me, and I rang the bell once for all the people who never survived.
Karen.
Yeah. And she videoed it, and it was lovely. And but I didn't feel the joy and the wonder that everybody does when they ring the bell.
But that wasn't related to your cancer, that was related to your dad.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely.
So that's not going to be everyone's experience. I mean, you just had so much colliding.
Exactly. And I love watching videos of people ringing the bell because it's just another person that survived. And, you often hear people talking about what do you take, or what advice do you give people who are going through breast cancer? And, people talking about ringing the bell and whatever. But, there's so much research, and there's so much it's not a death sentence anymore. It's not. There's so much hope.
And that message needs to be got out there. And again, I suppose that message is out there because of the research that's being done. And, the National Breast Cancer Research Institute that we're here doing the podcast for and with, if it wasn't for, I suppose, all the research and the money that goes in there, and as part of that, your own young fella, who we're calling the captain of
the Not Big Army.
So tell us about that, because he raised a lot of funds for the National Breast Cancer Research Institute, which is like a fantastic organisation that, that funding is what it goes to, is the research that allows innovations and treatments like yours.
Oh, absolutely. It's just phenomenal. Like, as we talked about earlier, my Auntie Mary, like, she died years ago, and she had like breast cancer in one and it came back in the other. And eventually, she ended up dying from breast cancer years ago.
But if there had been, I suppose, if all that knowledge and research had been there then,
absolutely,
she would have been another survivor.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's great. And this is why, this is why I think it's so important that, especially today, for me to be able to get a chance to sit down and talk about, like, when people hear cancer, they just think death straight away. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or what am I going to do? Or what, has my family going to do? But it's not like that anymore. Yeah. I mean, there's loads of people living with cancer. I have loads of good friends that I've met, like in Carlow. We have a brilliant support centre called 8 in Carlow, and I've met fantastic friends.
That's
that's what it is. Yeah, but I've met some great friends, and some of them have reoccurrences, and they're living with it, and they will for plenty of years to come. Which is brilliant.
So you've taken a lot of support out of being with other survivors and with your peers.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
because and again, that's maybe not for everybody either, because some people, I think, don't necessarily like to be, with other,
Yeah.
cancer survivors, and they prefer to do their own thing. But that's why everyone's different and everyone has to have different options. But tell us about Mikey and what himself and his mates did.
Oh God, Mikey was in class one day, LCVP, and one of his friends, Josh Brady, decided that he wanted to bleach his hair blonde. And
so was this before the summer or after the summer last year?
It was it was after. Oh no, it was before the summer, because before
you were still in treatment, were you?
I was finished my treatment. No, I was finished my treatment, so it was just coming up to Christmas.
Okay.
Yeah, it was coming up to Christmas. Just finished in October, so it was around. I'd say it was about the beginning of December.
Okay.
And they decided anyway. Josh decided.
Are they fifth year or sixth year?
They're sixth.
They were fifth year then, were they?
They were fifth year. They're in sixth. They've just finished their leaving cert now. So
they were in sixth year.
They were in sixth year. Yeah, they were in sixth year. So there's Knockbeg is the school in Carlow, and there's a football team. Now Mikey wasn't part of the football team, but the guys. Josh was in it. There's another chap, Jeremy Kelly, and there was another chap, Brian Broderick, and Keelan, which is Josh's twin, and Mikey. And they decided that they'd actually raise the money they'd do some sort of sponsorship, and they thought they might get €1,000.
All for breast cancer research?
All for breast cancer research, yeah. So they decided that they're going to bleach their hair blonde. And Brian Broderick I think he might have looked up a GoFundMe, and the first one that came up was the National Breast Cancer Research Ireland. So I don't know how he negotiated or how he even decided how to set it up or whatever. But that was set up within a couple of hours. And they put up a photograph of the football team, we'll say, in their jerseys.
With their own hair? With
their own hair, yeah. And then just said, Go Blonde for Breast Cancer was their logo. And most of them now, in fairness, Aileen, all had dark hair. Very dark hair. Okay, so I'd say there was a lot of mammies shocked at these boys coming home saying...
I wonder were the mammies told in advance, or...
I don't think the mammies were told in advance. But anyway, within a couple of hours of them setting it up and putting up the GoFundMe, and social media being like how strong it is nowadays with their phones and everything else, they had €500 raised in a couple of hours. Next thing, they had €1,000. Next thing, there's a lot of talk about it. We've a very small town. Carlow, a small enough town, as you know. So... I think that might have been on the Wednesday. On the Friday night, Aileen, I had 6 chaps in my house. And
including your own son, I hope.
Including my own son, Mikey, yeah. And I made a few phone calls to a few parents, and I said, look, your son is here. He's telling me that you're giving him permission for me to bleach his hair. I said, it could be blisters or anything. And they're all going, yeah, no, go for it, Karen. And I'm not too sure how many actually did it in the end. I know there was definitely 16, but I think there might have been anything up to 30 of them.
Yeah. And did you actually do the bleaching yourself? Yeah,
I did. Yeah, I did myself. My cousin Debbie, one of our friends, Maria, Ellie, my daughter, was there. The kitchen was absolutely mayhem. It was crazy. We got all the products that we needed. Obviously, Mammy being the hairdresser, I knew, what I needed to do and whatever. And we started bleaching, and there was blisters.
Of course there were. Well, that's what you're going to get with peroxide, I think, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. And we stayed going until 3:00 in the morning.
Till you got the 6 heads dyed.
Till we got the 6 heads dyed. And it was brilliant fun. Absolutely brilliant. And you know what was so funny was they were putting up pictures of themselves, right? Yeah. And they were obviously, tagging the GoFundMe. And you could see the money rolling in. It's unbelievable. Over the weekend, that weekend alone, between the Wednesday and the Monday, they had nearly €7,000 raised.
And what did they get to in the end?
In the end, then, with a bit of help from social media and whatever, they raised €12,200.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah.
That's just amazing, Karen, isn't it?
Unbelievable.
And it couldn't be going to a better source, but that's just fantastic.
Oh, no, it's brilliant.
And have those boys still got blonde blonde hair as a matter of interest?
To what, Josh, the guy that started it, still has a bit of the blonde hair. All the others eventually grew it all out over the Christmas. And I suppose that's the good thing about most haircuts nowadays in young lads. It's cut really short, so it was gone.
And at the end of the day, hair's only hair.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think they actually wore it as a badge of honour now for a couple of weeks.
But I'm sure it was great though for Mikey as well, because it made him not just feel involved in what you were going through, but he was also doing something for the wider community in relation to breast cancer. So I'm sure it must, did it mean a lot to him?
It did. It meant a lot to him personally, obviously, because it was his mammy. But it meant a lot personally too, as well, because it was his friends. Yeah. And they're just a brilliant cohort of young guys, you know. I can't talk highly enough about them all because they're all so good. And to you know, for young guys of 18 years, 17, 18 years of age, think of breast cancer. I mean, there's so many other charities that are worthy of all of this money too. I don't knock anything, but it's just that it was just because it was the breast cancer research that was really special to me. Especially
because that's giving, but again, they're boys, and you know, it's giving them a total focus on something that's research and scientific and medical based as well. Yeah,
and we had great chats actually. When I was talking to the guys that night, I said, "You put this on your CV," and because you know, in my past life, I was a HR manager, and it's funny when I would have been doing interviews with people, I'd be looking at their hobbies because when you're talking to young people, they don't want to talk to them about their academic stuff. You get them more comfortable when you get them talking about their hobbies and what they've done, and
because you get a wider sense of them then,
absolutely,
don't you?
and you make them comfortable. And if you know, the likes of a Josh and a Keel and a Jeremy and a Brian, all these guys and that all dyed their hair and were involved in it, like they'd sit comfortably in an interview and be able to say that they raised, you know, a lot of money for breast cancer research. And I don't think they even realise the enormity of what they've done, that they've, you know, it's such a worthy cause, and so badly needed. The funds are so badly needed to keep, you know, new treatments coming online. You know, triple negative cancer a couple of years ago, you know, it was like it's still, I know it is still, you know, aggressive cancer, unfortunately, and there will, you know, people, you know, it'll come, but there are people like me, please God, who, you know, it was caught early, I got the treatment, and please God, if it was to come part in another part of my body or whatever, the research is out there.
Yeah. And you know, for yourself going forward, I mean, where are you now in terms of cancer and your journey and your story and all the rest of it?
Yeah, so basically, so I finished, as you know, like October last year, I finished then. So it was 6 monthly then checkups, which now my last checkup will go to 9 months. And please God, after the 9 months, then we'll go to yearly checkups with the breast surgeon and with the oncologist.
But you're on nothing at the moment?
Absolutely nothing, no. And then it'll be just yearly mammograms after that.
Yeah.
But I will every month, and it's a big thing, and social media is brilliant for it, is encouraging people on the first of every month now to check your boobs.
Yeah.
And it's a big thing, you know, like the first of every month,
Because you can't be vigilant enough, I don't think.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah. And do you feel, Karen, did it change you as a person, or did it change your attitude to life?
Yes. Yeah.
So in what way?
So I'm going to live every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the takeaway, is it?
Absolutely. Yeah. And cancer is not a death. No, it's not a death notice anymore. Like there's so much hope. Yeah. There's so much.
And is that what you'd be, I suppose, saying to other women who may be just facing a diagnosis or who are, you know, in treatment?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. If any, you know, I suppose with the friends that I have become to me through AIST and whatever, and when we talk and whatever, we all talk about the future.
So I suppose it's be vigilant on the front side of it.
Absolutely.
And be positive about the future on the back end of it.
You couldn't, yes, exactly, Eileen. I couldn't have said it better now. That's exactly.
Well, you did say it, actually. I just paraphrased your words.
Yeah, that's it.
Tell me, because I like this. So I was asking about your hair earlier, because you still have a magnificent head of hair. It's a totally different colour, I know now. But you heard your first haircut yesterday, is that right?
Yes.
And who gave you your first haircut?
My mammy gave me my first haircut. So I'm 56 now. So she probably gave me my first haircut when I was probably 2, 1.5, 2.
And she's still cutting
And
your
she's
hair.
still cutting my hair.
Yeah, but she's cutting your hair now. She's not shaving your hair. And
No.
So that's a very positive thing as well, isn't
Absolutely.
it?
That's exactly. And last night, and my hair, it was growing. Like I had nice red hair, but this time when it was growing back, it was growing out. You know, it's like, so the amount of hair that we got, like I got cut off yesterday is unbelievable. So, you know, for anybody even at that stage where, you know, in the middle of
where they're
treatment.
worrying about.
Absolutely. Hair will grow back.
Yeah, hair is still only hair at the end of the day. And that's coming from
yes,
Karen, who is the red-haired girl from the customer service desk in Super Value in Carlow. Is that right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Karen, listen, I have to say it was a pleasure talking to you and hearing your story. And you know, it's an amazing story because there's so many bits to it between your dad and the broken ankle and Mikey and all the rest of it. So it's a fantastic story, but I think it's a very positive story for anyone listening. And you've given fantastic messages to anyone who's listening. So unless there's something else you want to add, that was just fantastic.
Thank you very much, Aileen.
Thanks, Karen.